guys, in today's review is on an all-new tooled locomotive from Dapol, or Dapol, depending on how you say it. And this all-new tooled item is the Hawthorn Leslie 040 side saddle tanks, and these were an industrial locomotive. I have been following these for a few years, the progress of the model, and they're very interesting, it was. So I went for the National Cardboard Blue one because it looked quite smart and it matches some of my other National Cardboard locomotives. The product code you need for this is 4S-O24-005, and this is in the lined strawed blue of the National Cardboard, and it is number 8. The eras for this model in this livery is era 4, early crest, era 5, the late crest of BR, and then we have era 6, which is British Railways blue pre-tops. I have read somewhere it's also era 3, but I'm really unsure. And this came out in the summer of 2024, so it took about a year and a half to come out. So that's June, July of 2024. And like I said, this is all new tooled. I'm quite excited to have it. I know it's a little bit sad. I know it has a few great features. I will just apologise for one right now, and that is the roof. My roof is faulty on the cab, and I'll explain that in the video. And I'll also tell you the price at the end. So here goes, shall we? Enjoy. So before we get on to the details of the model, I just thought I would show you the way Dapol have packaged the locomotive. So it comes in a sturdy cardboard box like most models, and it's in the Dapol branding with a line drawing of a representation of the class Hawthorn Leslie model. But as you open it, you take off the outer thick foam, which has 2 holes in for a bit of cardboard. Lift that off, keep the cardboard in, or the wood. And if you look carefully, you can see that the model is the way Dapol do the O-gauge stuff, which comes on a clear bit of plastic that the model is screwed to. There's 2 screws underneath the plastic. You take them off and your model is fine. It's almost as good as the clamshell. This is my first time trying this design and I'm quite impressed by it. Like I said, it's a clear bit of plastic. Hopefully the photos I've put up should do it justice. Apologies for the book. So now on to the details and what you get with the model. As always with Dapol stuff, you do get a nice glossy book, owner's manual, with another line drawing from the front of the model. A few pages I will pick out here are quite interesting, but please read the book carefully. The first page you do get a little bit of history. I think it's a slight generic one by the sounds of it. Then on page 5, it shows you how to take the plastic bit off the loco that's underneath the bit that's keeping it steady in transit. And on the other page, on page 4, it tells you what the model has, what features. It is always good to know what features it has. And then down below it has some information, be careful, warnings, etc. If you see these marks, please be careful. Also on page 7, it shows you how to take off the base keep plate. This is a split chassis, by the way. The base keep plate are the 2 other screws that are on the base keep plate. They come off, and the pickups are through the axles, I believe. Then from page 8 onwards, it's how to add your details that you get, which I'll get onto in a minute. Also, how to take the roof off, you take the roof off this. And then it's also how to take the side saddle tanks off to get to the DCC chip. Again, you just take the water filler cap out, a screw, and then you lift it up 5 degrees and move it forward, which I will hopefully show you later on. And then you do the reverse to put it back together, and under there you have your motor and your speaker. Again, it shows you how to DC fit it if you want to. And there's a few generic things about factory setting, DC fitting, the whistles, the sounds, the warranty, terms and conditions as well, which I find interesting to read. Never known a manufacturer to have terms and conditions. And also how to claim. I'm guessing it's the usual stuff. If you modify it, you can't use the warranty. And then it's a generic bit of information about Dapol and what to do if you have issues, and the service centre. And then you got the last 2 pages on notes. Overall, the book is quite detailed and a lot of information in there for new beginners and people who have never had a Dapol model before. As for the detail bag, you only get 2 bits of detail with this version of the model. And the bag is resealable, so you get hooks and chains for the front and back. There's a hole in the buffer beam. And you also get some hatched builder's plates for the side of the loco. And that is it. But it's a nice touch, we get the etch plates in the detail bag, and they're not on a sprue, they are separate. As we move now on to the front of this quite tiny locomotive. On the front of this locomotive you do have big metal round buffers, and these are quite big. Like I said, these are sprung and they are metal. I have heard these are a little bit out of scale, but to me they look totally fine. We also have a NEM pocket with a small tension lock in there, and below that we have some guard irons, knock stuff off the track. The buffer beam itself is in red with a few rivets. There is a hole for your details in the detail bag, and the buffer shanks themselves are red as well. One of mine has a little mark, like moulding mark on the side. It could be prototypical or it could be an error at the factory. But overall, it's highly detailed there. You don't get a blanking plate for the NEM pocket though, which I find a little bit disappointing. As we move on up, most of this up here is all metal. So we don't have any lamp irons at the bottom like we normally do. It's just a flat black area. What we do have is a smoke box dart in a wheel shape, which is separately applied. We also have tons of rivets going around the outside. We have the insert in black, and then the outside is in blue, as you can tell, with a handrail and a lamp iron. That's the only lamp iron we have on the front. And then we have the chimney. The chimney is in two places. It is separately applied, so they can alternate for other chimneys for other styles of models. And the handrails are metal, and that goes all the way around. As we now move on to this side of this small locomotive, there is some differences to either side. So the other side has, I think it's a metal red reversing rod, and it also doesn't have a lubricating point, which is like a wheel on the running board. That's the only differences I can personally see between the two sides. I do believe the reversing rod is metal, like I said, and I believe it's in red. So let's talk about this side. This side you have the whole loco is metal. The livery is in the National Code Board with the correct font for the NCB. The side saddle tanks are metal. The running board is metal, which is all good. So we have the National Code Board blue. We also have some lining. I think it's white, black and white. We have a separately applied handrail, which is the one from the front that goes round. We have sanding pots, which are on both sides. We have a lubricating point from this side. We have copper pipe work, again, it's the same on both sides. The copper pipe work is in copper and in brass. There's two different colour tones to differentiate the different metals. So Dapol have gone to a lot of trouble. On the side tanks we also have a step, again that's in blue. If you look very carefully between the copper piping, hopefully I'll bring a video up now, there is some motion inside. Hasn't been coloured or anything like red or anything like on some models. It is in black. It's very hard to see, but it is there, and it's a fantastic touch by Dapol. Like I said, the running board or the chassis is metal. It's black on top and then red along the sides. We have, I think it's metal cast wheels. They are blue with their inserts painted in. We have red rods. We also have the cylinders in the National Code Board blue, and we have the drain cups already applied. Next to them we do have, I think it was to like let off steam from the cylinders, but I've been told it's a lubricating pot and it's the wrong way around. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but either way that's there and that is separately painted. The drain cups themselves are black. Everywhere you look, there's tons of details. Before we get to the cab, there is the coal load, which I'll get onto when I do my aerial views. As we move along to the cab area now, the cab area itself has the number 8. It has the builder's plaque. If you wanted to make the builder's plaque better, they are in the detail bag. We have the same amount of lining that we have on the side saddle tanks and the cylinders. We also have some steps, which I also believe have lining too, and I think we have separately applied handrails for the crew. The roof is removable. But one of my magnets is stuck inside. Like a lot of people who reviewed it, their magnets is stuck and it just goes back on like that. It's not quite flush, but it's an easy way to fit crew and have a look at the detail. So to DC chip this or sound it, there's a way that Dapol tried to do. It's in the instructions. Hopefully I will show you now. So you take off the water filler cap. Apologies about my hands. So water filler cap just there. And there should be a screw inside there. And that's it coming off, so that's how it looks in there. Then under there you have your motor. In here you can see the motor. The motor is a coreless motor, so just be careful with a few controllers. And we also have a flywheel as well. And this is where you DC chip it, and I think it's an X18 pin. So yeah, just be careful with your controller if you don't have the right ones for a coreless motor. And all this is die cast. And then to put it back on, you do the same thing. It should be 5 degrees. So I've leveled this on, like so. And then it's just a simple case of screwing it it's on, I've checked. Get your water filler cap and you slot your water filler cap back in, which I'll do off camera. So as we move on now to the cab detail and the features the cab has, this does have a flickering firebox on analog or DC ready, which is a nice touch. I didn't expect small thing to have it. We do have a massive glazing bar at the front, but that's not an issue. We do have some dials with detail on. We have some copper piping going to the whistles. We have a regulator. We have more copper piping. Like I said, we have a flickering firebox. I think the inside is painted in cream. Like I said, if you want to get inside, you can remove the roof. On the other side, I think the glazing is flush. And there is a half moon thing for I think it's the brake handle or the water handle, to help the firemen. I think we also have a wood flooring effect inside. There's so much detail in there, I'm sorry if I forgot anything. Hopefully the photos will do it justice with the roof off. Like I said, the roof is magnet on, but one of our magnets is stuck inside, and it looks like it's happened to quite a lot of people who reviewed it. But overall, the detail inside the cab is astonishing, if I'm honest with you. As we look at the back of the cab as it was, there's no bunk around here. So what we do have is the NEM pockets, again, with a small tension lock in there. We also have some guard irons, knock stuff off the tracks. We have basically the same as the front. We have the big round buffers. Again, they are metal and they are sprung. Not sure if they're overscale or not. I have heard rumours they are. We have the shanks and the buffer beam itself in red with lots of rivets on there. And there's a hole again for the hook and chains that are in the detail bag. As we move on up, we have some National Cold Board lining in blue. I think it's white, black and white. We have a lamp iron in the bottom half centre. That looks to be separately applied. There's only 2 lamp irons on it overall. Like I said, we do have that half moon thing sticking out for the brakes or water, I believe, handle inside the cab for the firemen. We have some glazing. It is flush. Like I said, I'm unsure if it is flush inside or is it a glazing bar, but from here it looks great. We have some gold lining around that, and then we come to the roof. Like I said, the roof is not quite flush. There's a problem with the magnets, but overall it doesn't make a bad model. It looks quite good. So that is the back of the locomotive. So as we do an aerial view now, as you can tell, the roof is removable, like I've said, and it's just purely black. I think there might be a few rivets dotted around there, but it's pretty smooth. Next to that, we have the coal bunkers. They're either side of the whistle and safety valves. Whistle is plastic. Safety valves look great. Coal load isn't removable, I don't think, but it doesn't look too bad. Then we come on to the side saddle tanks. Look at, they are metal. You saw me take it apart. They are metal. They are cast metal. The water filler cap is removable. We have 2 handrails, again, either side of that. We have a dome. Then we have the set-applied metal chimney. Again, there will be a join line between that because of other variants. And you can see the lining around the side, and you can also see that there's no lamp irons either on the front. Now as we do an underneath look at the model, underneath there we have 2 screws to take off the base key plate. They are the 2 screws where the lugs were holding in on the plastic display thing. Take that off. The pickups are through the axles. This is a split chassis, as you can see from the photo. We do have bearings on the axles as well, or wheels. We also have the split chassis, the split axle, protected in a metal casing, which hopefully will stop the axles from splitting. That's what used to happen back in the 80s and 70s with mainline stuff. And then we have a few cogs that drive it. So it should be easy to oil. Like I said, it's a split chassis. I'm not a fan of split chassis, but if it's as good as the J70, I'm happy with that. Once I've put it back on, you can see the brake rigging is already applied. We have some sanding pipes, we have some brake shoes, we have, I think it's 2 more screws to take off the shell if you really wanted to. I wouldn't, you just take off the tanks if I was you. You can see the drain cocks here, and you can also see, which I think are lubricating points or taps to let steam out. And you can also see the steps as well, and the NEM pockets. The NEM pockets, like I said, come away with the base keeper plate for some reason. I don't mind it, keeps it all intact. It's not like the B4 that Dapol do where it's a nightmare, but they come away and that's quite nice actually. The only thing, like I said, the only thing I don't like is you got no things to cover up the NEM pockets if you wanted to run them without the NEM pocket. That is basically it. But overall it's a nice weighty chassis and locomotive. So yeah guys, that's it on the tracks. Next up will be the usual points test to see it can go across my points. It's so small, so it can go across them. There's no second radius. I'm 99% sure this possibly can do first radius. It's so small. I know the Peckett from Hornby can do first radius, so I'm going to leave second radius out. So Here comes the punch test. Yeah, it's pretty smooth. It's DC ready. You know, it's 20. See what it did backwards. Again, that's pretty good at 20. It can do slower speed, but I believe it gets caught on the diamond crossing. Yeah, I'm very impressed by this. It does have a flywheel though. Again, pretty good. Yeah, 20, superb. So yeah, it managed that quite fantastic actually. 20 is not bad at all. Like I said, it can do it slower, but it just gets stuck on the diamond crossing. I tried it at like 10 and it did it to the diamond crossing, and the diamond crossing it just gave up and got stuck, which is fine. 20 is good. So next up will be some slow speed, and I've wound it a train to pull, and I'll see you at the end. So here it goes. Again, 20, and that was the controller stopping it. The wire's a bit dodgy. Yeah, pretty smooth, pretty well. One's quiet. It's quiet down now. I've ran it in, and like I said before, this is a DC ready version. But if you get one that was DC fitted, you probably could put a Stay Alive in there. Yeah, happy with that. So yeah guys, that's the end of the running session and the review. Before I give my opinion, I'll do what I normally do, which is tell you what the train was pulling, or the loco was pulling. In this case it was mainly made up livery stock that I have, then two real brake vans. So the pricing on this is pretty nice. It's pretty low for an 040, if I'm honest with you. So from Dapol you're talking £126.36 for a DC ready like this. It's probably a little bit more with it's already fitted and sound. It's a lot more. From a model shop you're talking, give or take, depending on where you go, depending on the prices, about £107, £108, depending on where you go. For most deliveries on DC ready, they're all at that price, which again is a fantastic price for such a lovely model that runs. I got mine from Tops Trains in Stafford, and I paid £110 for it. It's a family run shop, so I don't mind. So my opinion on the model now, it runs wonderful, it looks the part, has some great features. Okay, the roof doesn't always fit correctly, which was a little bit of my fault, a little bit of Dapol's. So the magnet was in the way. I have to really push the roof down to get it flush. There is a magnet stuck in there. It's happened to quite a few reviewers. I've seen a lot, and it's all the same problem. I will try and fix it at some point, but at the moment it's on, it's staying on. I'm not a fan of split chassis. It just gives me nightmares back from the 70s and 80s when I used to buy mainline models or Airfix models and Bachmann models. They're always split chassis, and it just gives me nightmares. I'm not too keen on that. Hornby managed with their Peckett, their W4. They managed not to do a split chassis, so I don't know why Dapol have, but they have. And if it's anything like my J70, like I said, it should be fine. That's a split chassis as well. The way you DC fit it or sound, or just check the motor out, it's pretty easy. Like I said, you take the water filler cap off, screw, put it up 5 degrees and slowly pull it out. Even someone like me who's heavy-handed and has cerebral palsy and brain damage and my eye coordination isn't perfect, I did manage to do that following the instructions. So there's no issues there. Everyone should be able to do it. That is a fantastic touch. The cab, if it works, is a fantastic idea. The flickering firebox, again, on such a small model, I like it. I know it's a gimmick, or I think it's a gimmick. I like it. Like I said, in the detail parts, there was 2 areas that I got told that might be incorrect, and that is the buffer sizing. Someone said it's a little bit too big, and that is, which I think is a steam valve by the cylinders. Someone said it's a part for lubrication, and it's the wrong way up or wrong way down, and it's out of scale. And I've also heard the pinwheel or the dart on the front is a little bit out of scale. But for me, as a noob or novice, I can't tell if it's in scale or out of scale. I'm no expert, so for me it looks the part. My only criticism of Dapol personally is for someone who likes the history like me. I like to read about the locomotive, I like to research it for this part here to do my history. Dapol have gave a generic history, so all the books are the same, they're all generic, they all got the same history on every locomotive. Hornby and Bachmann, especially Hornby, will go the extra step and say, well, this locomotive you have here entered traffic here, it was in this livery at this time, and it got scrapped or it's preserved wherever. That's my only small, tiny gripe I have with this, apart from being split chassis, is the history. And I know everyone's not a fan of the history, but for me it was just a small thing. You got to remember that the W4 Peckett from Hornby came out in a different time. It came out before COVID. It came out then, so it ain't going to have flickering firebox, and I think it hasn't got sprung buffers. But again, sprung buffers don't bother me. Honestly, they do not bother me. And I'm almost 99% sure the Hornby B2 or B1 I have Peckett in the National Coal Board livery, again, is the blue's a little darker. I understand manufacturers get the colours a little bit mixed up between themselves, but that's the only gripes I have. I highly recommend these. Like I said, it's pulling a lengthy-ish train. Okay, it has a water tanker on it, but it's just some fun. No issues on points, as you saw. My track's a little bit dirty, it's not been cleaned in a while. It managed my points perfectly. Like I said, below the 20 mark, it will get stuck on the diamond crossing. Again, it has a small wheelbase, but if you DC chip it or you get one that's already fitted, you probably could put a stair live in there and it probably will solve that issue. But for someone who does DC ready or analog, I like to show off these sort of problems if it has it. So points, again, I've been told if you put a motor in, it makes the points electric, and most locos go over perfectly fine. But like I said, for me, it's a thumbs up. The price is fantastic for such a highly detailed model. Even the high shop prices, which is what, 115 I've seen them at, is reasonable. It's a fantastic model. The only question I have for you guys and myself is, are Dapol thinking ahead like Hornby did and doing a 6-wheeled version of this model? That's the only question I have. Hopefully Dapol have thought that far ahead, and they probably will announce one in due course, but that's just my theory. So guys, from me and this lovely locomotive, that's the end of the review and my little ramble. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you find it a little bit useful, and I'll see you in the next one. So please take care of yourselves, and goodbye.